Welcome back. We are working on the Kraven build today. We've got our ESCN and our motors wired up. So the next step, off camera, I went ahead and I fixed up this cable. I went online and I found the wiring diagram, and if we scroll down you can see here we have see, it plugs in like this into the flight controller. So we've got battery voltage, ground, we've got our RX, and that's this purplish looking wire, and it's going to the TX here, and that's for telemetry output. Then we have current, which is this light pink wire, kind of fleshy toned, and that is going to the C output here. And then we've got motors 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's yellow, green, purple, and white in that order. And so you can see we have yellow, green, purple, and white, and 4, 3, 2, and 1. So I went ahead and took care of that, and I just double checked my work here on camera to make sure that I got it all right. So the next step really is getting our VTX camera and crossfire wired in. And speaking of camera, it is at this point that I actually need to find the right camera. Yeah, I bought this stick vise. It's a brand name thing, but I bought it on Amazon. And you know, it's one of those buys where you're kind of like, I don't know, it might be worth getting. And it's turned out to be just one of the best little tools I've used. So we want ground, 5 volt, get a little bit on there. We want ground, and we want 5 volt, and we want RXS, which means RX with S bus, and TXS. Okay, fine with that. So cam that guy, and then that guy. Okay, do the signal, the ground wire, and the positive. I don't like that one. There we go. The ground pin is the one next to the bind button. So directly across from that will be your ground. From there, ground, 5 volt, channel 1, channel 2. Easy peasy. Let's get our controller tinned, or our crossfire tinned up. Alright, come on. There, nice and tinned up. And then we do a black wire through the hole. The red wire is next. That one goes to 5 ohms. We have the yellow wire. That's going to be our signal, or the one that sends all the commands to our flight controller. Then we have our white wire, which will be our telemetry wire. So anything the flight controller wants to tell our remote, that's what that's going to be. Alright. And then we will go ahead and slip over the plastic. This guy is going to keep it from getting you know, shorting out on the frame, whatever. Okay. Good. There we go. And we'll mount this guy on here. It's a good idea to mount this up before you shrink wrap the plastic. And we'll run these wires back through. Alright, we're going to heat this one up on the heat gun. There it is. I'm sitting here watching the video part 2 of the Kraven build, and I hate it. This particular flight controller was just a bear to begin with. On top of that, there were a number of configuration options that I didn't take into account when I was first introduced to this CL Racing F7. And so I didn't end up setting them, and I ended up having to take the quad apart and put it back together. And then the VTX died on me within a couple of seconds of firing up the thing. It's an HGLRC. Everyone told me to expect it to die, and it did. It was dead as a doornail. I can't get it to fire up at all on the bench, and I didn't bridge anything or didn't do anything funky with it, so it was just crap to begin with. And so I got that. I had to swap out the VTX. I hate this flight controller. It's an F7, but it has so many little bridges and idiosyncrasies that you got to take care of that it sucks. It's not as easy to use as really any other flight controller I've ever had. So that's kind of, I'm a little bit down on it, and that's why I'm not even going to show you that footage, because I don't feel like it's my best work. It's not. I should have taken more care. I didn't actually realize that someone would put out a flight controller that was this annoying to use, and especially after having used, you know, some just very basic flight controllers like Lumineer and even 2020 flight controller, F7 2020 flight controllers I've used. It didn't have, you know, little things to switch and do differently. It just worked, and this one didn't, and I didn't like that about it. A good example is Motor 4 doesn't work with D-Shot unless you bridge some LED pad. Like, not at all obvious that you needed to do that, and it took a bit of Googling to figure it out. And then it took a bit of Googling to even realize that, oh yeah, now I'm understanding a bit more about my ESCs and bidirectionality and all this other stuff that frankly, I just never really had to think about before. And this forced me to think about that. And that's kind of a bad way to get introduced to learning something, is when something else doesn't really work and you have no idea why. So that's kind of that's just another reason why I'm not showing this footage. And so I'll briefly skip through it and show you some flight footage, and hopefully my style will improve on the next couple of builds, because I'm taking into account that these videos need to be a whole lot shorter, and I'm starting to trim them down. Okay, so bear with me on this one, and I'll get out some good content for you on the rest. Okay. I mean, shit, this frame is enormous, you know? It's got an enormous camera cage. So I can pretty much I can get it positioned, but can I get it so that it doesn't interfere with these uprights? Let's just do that right now. I think I can make this work, and I'm saying that because I think that this bottom hole will actually line up well enough so that we can secure this camera in place between these standoffs. And at least that's my belief at this point in time. I want this guy to come down on top like so. Good, good. And then this is the camera signal. This one goes towards the rear. We're going to plug in our, give this guy a little twist and then flip it over and plug it in to our flight controller here. Or not. Maybe I don't need to flip it. There it is. Alright. I bridged pads. My fifth or sixth quad, I bridged a pad. Didn't check it with didn't check it with multimeter. Yep, toast. Toasted a brush tank. VTX. This is a good one. I wanted to really give it a good try, and didn't get to happen. Yeah, it's always a bummer when you toast something you didn't mean to, and well, not that you ever mean to toast anything, but you know what I mean. We're going to go back through this flight stack real quick and just double check that we're not touching anything between the boards, and we're going to do that here in 1 second. We'll do these 3mm nylon standoff or nuts on top here, and you don't need to soft mount these. I just put the rubbers on there. These little rubber grommets are cheap. You buy them in a pack of 50 for $2, and they are worth their weight in gold, just because they'll keep you from, cranking things down too tight or breaking a board or knocking a component off. It's really not meant as like the be-all end-all of flight controller stack, but it does a good job, like I said, of keeping your nut up away from the board so it doesn't end up touching your components and oops, I knocked that component off. I'm a bit annoyed. I'd intended to fly this guy yesterday, all 800 or 900 grams of it, and couldn't do it because motor 4 just will not spin. And I looked at the docs and thought I had it done right and didn't think I was using RPM filtering, and excuses. This flight controller is just too fiddly. I don't like it. I'm gonna try and make it work, but it's not going in another quad of mine, I can assure you of that. And it's a shame too, because it's a like an F7, right? I mean, it's supposed to be good, it's supposed to be decent, but Jesus Christ, what a pain in the ass. I gotta pull my quad all apart again. All right, one, I fixed my VTX. I think I figured out how to set up the reel pit so that it's always on. It was in the docs. Should have read the docs. I should have read the instructions. God damn, why do they make it so hard? It's just like, it should be stupid. I'm just kvetching, that. Yep. Let's just pray that that's a file. Okay. We've got our all-up weight machine. I don't believe that I have anything else to set on top of here. So we've got 245 plus. So our all-up weight is 830 grams. All right, well, that's enough fun for one evening. Thank you for watching and sticking with me through this. Hopefully I chopped this up so that it wasn't entirely boring. And hopefully you learned something from having to take things apart and put them back together multiple times. So it really does suck when... So it's part operator error, part bad design. Let's put it that way. And in this particular case, I think it falls more on the bad design side, because people are used to things working a certain way, and when your thing is different, it sucks. All right. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for some flight footage. All right, so I'm taking out the Kraven for its very first flight, and I gotta say, the thing flew amazingly. Despite how heavy it was, it seemed to have plenty of power, plenty of thrust. The GoPro is just rock steady. I didn't detect any real prop wash or anything else. And despite all the problems I had with the CL racing board, when it's all said and done, it actually flew great. And this is with a GoPro mounted on some grip and zip tied to that top plate. I mean, it's really kind of a janky solution. It's not a mount by any stretch of the imagination. And it looks pretty good. I mean, and you can kind of see the quad flexing underneath of it, just because that GoPro is moving back and forth on top. But I mean, I'm slinging it around. It's, holding on just fine. And, like I said, I couldn't really find prop wash or anything I didn't like about this. The worst part about it was the analog video system. It just didn't have any range because of the aluminum. You'd get about 200 yards out, and it'd just go to static, and that's it. Whatever, 200 milliwatts or 400 milliwatts or whatever it was set to. Yeah, I just wasn't happy with that. But I bet that with a DJI system on it, it would fly and be rock solid and amazing. So that's going to be an upcoming build, I think, putting a DJI on this and really, letting it rip around and see what it can do. So I'm looking forward to doing that with it. But yeah, I'll let you finish watching this and follow up in a couple minutes. The Kraven build was not one of my greatest builds. It was really annoying to get that board to work, and I don't recommend it for really for anyone. I can't understand why they would build something that was so fiddly, that required so much attention to detail to ensure that you weren't, screwing something up just by. I mean, you had to bridge 3 or 4 pads just to get D-Shot to work. I mean, things you never have to do on any other flight controller. So to me, that alone makes it just not worth. It was like $3 cheaper than the next cheapest one, and now I know why. It's like 10 times the work to get it right. So I don't recommend it, and but I do recommend the Kraven. The frame itself, just absolutely amazing. It's a fun build. It's a interesting, something different. You don't see it every day, and it's heavy, and that extra weight really makes for some really smooth, nice video. So if you want something really smooth, really just just a good all-around flyer, it's not going to do acrobatics all day long or anything like that. It just unless you're putting 2,500 milliamp hours of battery on it, and even then it probably wouldn't help it. It's one of those fun builds that if you can stretch and do it, absolutely, just go ahead and pick it up. And like I said, the place to get the frame is off of eBay. Now I understand now that the Kraven frame may in fact be a clone of, and I'm probably going to screw this up, a Racon Heli frame. And Racon Heli does a bunch of aluminum stuff, so it may actually be a clone of theirs. So just keep that in mind. If maybe you want to source an original, or maybe you don't care. I personally don't care all that much, but yeah, it was definitely an interesting build. So definitely worth checking out. Just stay away from the CL Racing F7.